Welcome to the WorldWire Update. Don't forget to subscribe and click the bell icon for more updates and thrilling short scenes. In a dramatic and unexpected move, the Supreme Court has blocked President Trump's sweeping new tariff proposal, striking at the very heart of his economic agenda and challenging the limits of presidential authority in a way rarely seen before. The decision, delivered on October 3, 2025, sent shockwaves through the nation, igniting fierce political debate and dominating headlines across the country. Within minutes, President Trump lashed out on social media, unleashing a series of angry posts that quickly went viral. He accused the justices of betraying American workers, claiming their decision would hurt families and communities across the nation. Trump also charged that the court was siding with foreign interests and undermining America's economic strength. The ruling highlights a fundamental clash, one that has defined American democracy for generations, between the executive's push for decisive, sometimes unilateral action, and the judiciary's crucial role as a check on presidential power, ensuring no branch oversteps its bounds. The tariffs, intended to protect American industries and jobs from foreign competition, were challenged by states and businesses who argued Trump overstepped his constitutional authority. The Supreme Court agreed with their arguments, drawing a clear and unmistakable line on the limits of presidential power. For opponents of the tariffs, it's a resounding victory for the rule of law and constitutional checks and balances. For Trump's supporters, it's a call to arms and a rallying cry for the upcoming election season. The stage is now set for an even more intense and divisive political battle, as both sides prepare for what comes next. To grasp the impact of the ruling, we need to understand Trump's tariff plan and its philosophy. The proposal imposed steep taxes on imports, targeting countries accused of unfair trade practices. The administration argued tariffs would revive American manufacturing and defend national interests. Critics, including many U.S. businesses, warned tariffs would raise costs, hurt consumers, and threaten jobs. The business community was deeply divided, with some fearing higher prices and others supporting protectionism. Everyday Americans face the prospect of pricier goods, especially for home building and renovations. Economists warned of inflation, while trade groups argued open markets benefit the U.S. economy. This deep divide set the stage for a high-stakes legal showdown. At the heart of this high-stakes legal battle was the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, or IEEPA. Trump invoked IEEPA to justify imposing broad tariffs, claiming unfair trade practices were an extraordinary threat to the nation. Traditionally, IEEPA was used for targeted sanctions, not for sweeping economic changes affecting entire industries. States and business groups sued, arguing the president had overreached and bypassed Congress's constitutional authority. Lower courts agreed, and the case quickly reached the Supreme Court. How far do emergency powers really go? The administration argued for broad executive authority. Challengers demanded strict limits to prevent potential abuse. The Supreme Court ultimately sided with the challengers, ruling Trump's use of IEEPA was an overreach of power. The decision reasserts crucial judicial oversight and sets clear limits on executive power in the United States. The White House erupted in anger after the ruling, with aides scrambling to respond and a sense of urgency gripping the West Wing. Trump bypassed formal statements, venting on social media and in a fiery press gaggle, his words echoing through the halls and across the internet. He called the decision a disgrace, accusing the court of betraying American workers and caving to globalists, painting himself as the only one willing to stand up for the country. Trump claimed the justices, including his own appointees, had failed the people and sided with corporate interests, expressing deep disappointment and frustration. He framed himself as a lone fighter against a corrupt establishment, vowing to keep fighting for his agenda, and insisting that he would not back down in the face of adversity. "We will not be stopped. This fight is just beginning," he declared, promising new executive actions and a push for congressional support, rallying his base with renewed energy. Trump's rhetoric turned the legal defeat into a loyalty test, demanding his supporters stand with him against the judiciary, and challenging them to prove their commitment. He criticized specific justices, deepening controversy over the court's legitimacy and fueling debate about the future of the judiciary. The president's fury signals a shift in strategy. He's already seeking alternative legal paths to pursue his trade agenda, consulting with advisors late into the night. For Trump, this is not just a policy setback. It's a direct challenge to his authority and vision. a moment that tests his resolve and leadership. His public outrage is a rallying cry, drawing battle lines for the next phase of the fight, and energizing his supporters for the battles ahead. The administration is determined to keep the America First agenda alive, no matter the obstacles, signaling that the struggle will continue on multiple fronts. The conflict between the branches of government is now deeply personal and more intense than ever, setting the stage for a dramatic and uncertain political showdown. Washington split instantly along party lines after the Supreme Court's decision. Trump's allies in Congress and the administration echoed his outrage, calling the ruling judicial overreach. Trade advisor Peter Navarro warned the decision would flood the U.S. with subsidized foreign goods, threatening American manufacturing. Republican leaders argued the court intruded on executive authority in national security and foreign policy. Democrats and some anti-tariff Republicans celebrated the ruling as a victory for the rule of law and constitutional checks. Opponents of the tariffs hailed the decision as relief for consumers and businesses, urging a return to international cooperation. The coalition that sued Trump saw the ruling as proof that no one, not even the president, is above the law. The sharply different reactions reveal the deep partisan divide over presidential power and trade. The Supreme Court's decision sent immediate ripples through the economy. Markets rallied with stocks rising for companies reliant on imports, as fears of new tariffs faded. Many economists agreed the ruling would help curb inflation, but some warned it left underlying trade issues unresolved. Tariff supporters argued the decision weakens U.S. leverage in global negotiations and could harm American workers long-term. Beyond economics, the case put the Supreme Court under intense scrutiny, with public trust in the judiciary increasingly polarized. A recent poll showed many Americans doubted the court would rule against Trump. Today's decision challenges that perception. Yet, Trump's attacks on the justices risk further eroding respect for judicial independence. This case is a stress test for both the economy and the public's faith in the rule of law. The Supreme Court's ruling draws a clear line on presidential power, sending a powerful message about the boundaries of executive authority in the United States. It limits the use of emergency authority for sweeping economic changes, making it clear that such decisions require more than just a single leader's directive. Congress's role in setting trade policy is reasserted, restoring a balance of power that many lawmakers felt had been eroded in recent years. This decision sets a precedent that will constrain future presidents, shaping how executive power is interpreted for generations to come. The White House is already pivoting, quickly adapting its strategy in response to the new legal landscape. Officials are exploring other legal avenues, such as Section 232 of the Trade Expansion Act, to pursue tariffs and maintain leverage in global trade negotiations. Both sides are bracing for what comes next. Uncertainty hangs in the air as the nation waits to see how leaders will respond. Opponents hope for a return to stable, collaborative trade, envisioning renewed partnerships and less volatility in the global market. Supporters, meanwhile, see a rallying cry for stronger executive action. Fears persist of economic uncertainty, retaliatory trade moves, and the possibility of escalating tensions with key allies. Many worry about lasting damage to democratic institutions and the delicate checks and balances that define American government. Trump's base views this as a temporary setback, not a defeat, and remains energized for future political battles. Yet, there are growing worries that the presidency itself is being weakened, and that the ability to act decisively in times of crisis may be slipping away. The future of American trade and presidential power remains uncertain, with the nation standing at a crossroads and the world watching closely. The next moves by Congress, the White House, and the courts are likely to shape the nation's direction for years, if not decades, to come. The battle over the limits of executive authority is far from over, and its outcome will define the balance of power in America's democracy.